going into my basketball. Every time I rock, man, this is how we rap and raw. Peace to my man, now we got the camera out. Every time I spit it, cross over the...
All right, hello everyone, this is Josh, also known as Yashu, and you're tuning into another episode of TLOY Talks, episode 46. You're going to see it like on all platforms, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, much more. I feel like I've said this like too many times, but we'll keep going. Also, like, you know, do that 5-star review if you can too, and, you know, we're just going to get started right here and all that. We have actually like one of the biggest rising artists like in the Toronto music scene right now, with multiple like, you know, press coverages from like CB24, City TV, We Love Hip Hop, much more. She also had like a variety of releases too, including her latest release, The Smell of Smoke. It'll be out like on all platforms. It is out on all platforms, pronouns. And, you know, she has hosted her own events, has directed like a good amount of videos in the past and much more. We have Toronto's own RAXX in the building. How are you doing today?
Thank you. Oh my God, what an introduction. Wow.
Yeah, man.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here today.
Yeah, man. I mean, we definitely had to like get you on here and all that too. Like, you know, I gotta share like your flowers too, because you're like the second, you know, woman guest on the platform, you know, just solo woman guest on the platform and all that too.
Let's
so
go.
I'm trying to like keep that like legacy going up from there and all the, you know, better perspectives, everything else too and all that. And, you know, seeing like all the stuff I've seen from like We Love Hip Hop, Bulls and Beats, much more, like even from Rated R and from the other stuff too. You have a great story and great journey and all that too.
Thank
and like
you.
we'll get to like speak further on that as well, you know.
Yeah, you are great. And who was the first female that you had on here?
So we had Beauty in the Ride just recently last week, so that'll actually drop sometime later on soon. So always keep like your eyes peeled on that, and
Love that.
drop the other one. We'll drop this one like pretty soon as well to it, like as like mentioned. And
Amazing.
yeah, you know,
we gotta get more girls on here because we are taking over.
Yeah, no, like I think it is a good time for I wouldn't say female rappers, women rappers right now in the building, you know, just with the American side, the Canadian side too, like it's self-explanatory and all that, and like we'll get more into it soon and all
We'll
that.
dive in.
Yeah. So I want to like get more into your story right now. So you grew up in Collingwood. So tell me more about the differences like between Toronto and Collingwood, like in terms of like living, you know, the social norms, etc. and all that.
I mean, it was a great place to grow up. It's a snowboard small town. In terms of like growth and like what you can do there, it's not that big. So I mean, when I moved to Toronto, it was just my time to kind of move and branch out. And I started film and photography when I first got here, and it's just kind of blossomed from there. But I do shout out Collingwood because it is a great place to grow up.
Nah, most definitely, because I mean Collingwood and like Meaford, they're like close to Barrie and all that, and I know Barrie, like they have like a strong like love for hip hop too, like around those areas too.
Yeah.
So there were like some concerts like that would pop up. So I don't know if you ever like went to concerts like in Collingwood like at that time too, like when hip hop and like rap was like sort of like rising like within Canada.
Yeah, like, I mean, there wasn't a big scene in Collingwood. We had, like, Wakestock and, like, some events at Blue Mountain, like, Swollen Members, shout out Mad Child. They were there. I remember seeing them back in the day and just, like, loving them. And then with, like, Wakestock and stuff, they brought, like, Flavor Flav and people like that. But the music scene wasn't, like, massive there.
Yeah. So I'd say like you would be like the first artist from like Collingwood, Barrie, like around those areas to be like a big name and all that.
I don't consider myself like a huge name yet. It's like we're building to that, but I mean, hopefully one day like I can say that and say, yeah, like I'm representing Collingwood and the, you know, the north side.
Nah, most definitely, you know, and, you know, talking more about like your musical background and history and all that too, did you have any like family members or friends that were doing music at the time, and was like an initial drive for you to get into music from like your friends or family and all that?
I think that art is a huge thing in my family, and like there's a lot of people in my family's pretty big on my dad's side, and you know, a lot of people are musicians and stuff like that. I think I've always been a musician at heart. Like when I was a kid, I played piano and taught myself how to play guitar. and write poetry. I was a big poet, but I didn't really take it seriously until I was a bit older and like moved to Toronto and was going through stuff. So I just kind of took the chance and posted a video online, and it went kind of mini viral.
Oh,
So that was kind of like the snowball effect, and I've just been on go since.
Nah, most definitely. And, like even like prior to music and all that, you were like doing photography and like film and all that too. You were working like, with like Director X and like Brett
Shout
Kessel
out.
and like everyone else too. So how did you even like get into photography and film? Like, because we never really got into that aspect yet, like usually some people, there's like a lot of like unique aspects to getting there and all that. So how did you get into that, and what was like the experience, working with big names like that?
Well, it kind of fell into my lap. Like I moved here and I was doing photography as a hobby and like doing gallery shows and stuff like that. Shout out Just John. I did a show with him at his gallery. And then I was working at nightclubs and I met a producer and he said, do you want to come out and work on this music video? I worked with, it was a Brett Kessel music video, and I don't even really listen to country music, so I didn't really know how big he was in that world. But I got on set and I just fell in love with it. So I continued to, put myself out there and film, and it slowly blossomed and blossomed. And I did a lot of music videos, so that's where I got introduced to Pop Rock and Mad Rock, and those are Director X's production companies back in the day. I don't know if they're still around. I think Mad Rock is, but yeah, and I got to be around some really talented people, so I was pretty blessed with that. And that definitely like inspired some of my own stuff, because I got into these rooms with these A-listers and I was like, I can do this, and here we are.
Nah, 100%. And like usually from different perspectives too, like you now being like an artist out right now, like usually there are like different perspectives on creating like the best music video. And I just want to ask, so from your perspective versus like like a videographer's perspective, like a Macadelic or like
Shout out Mac.
I think this other guy
Brown Guy Made It.
Yeah, Brown Guy Made It as
Yeah.
well too. Like what would be like the differences within perspectives when an artist is directing their music video versus like when a director or videographer is like doing it?
That's a great question. I think that something that Toronto lacks is creativity. Like I wish that I would see a little bit, like, because the amount of artists we have, you see a lot of the same video.
Yeah.
And I wish that artists would kind of, branch out and use that creativity that they take to make the music and put it into their videos. But I come from a film background, so, like I've always had that creative eye and that creative mind. But I think it's really dope when like Macadelic and Brown Guy Made It collab with the artists and they kind of bounce off each other and can make something really beautiful, right? But I think that people definitely need to challenge themselves more as well as myself, because I could be making crazy videos and, like what's stopping me? And same with everybody else.
Do you feel like other artists should also help like other artists like when like in the process of like directing a music video and all that too? Because I feel like it does kind of get like outdated with the condo like music videos or like the parking lot type music videos too and all that. So
I do think so. I think the problem with the collaboration part of it is like a lot of people don't have time. A lot of people want, a bag for their time. People are broke right now. It's difficult. Like being an artist is really hard, especially an independent artist, because you're taking money out of your own pocket and, doing stuff with it. Would I like to see more artists collaborate? Yeah, totally. But I need to also follow in those footsteps as well and try to collaborate with more people.
Yeah, nah, most definitely. And we're just getting into like this latest question right now, which is very important. Your debut, well, not your debut album, your latest album, The Smell
Second
of Smoke.
studio.
So tell me more about the creative process, inspiration for the project, and how is it different from like the other stuff you dropped like in the past?
It's a great question. Another one, like claps for you. You have great questions. I think that with this is my second studio album. With the first one, I think that I was being, I was making it for people and thinking that that's what female rappers should be, and with the ass twerking and the talking about this and that, ra-ta-ta. With this second album, I wanted to be more true to who I am and, you know, be mature about it and be different, because there's not really a lot of girls that are doing what I'm doing, and I want to encourage it. Like, you don't need to have your tits and your ass out as much as it's your, like, do you, baby, like, and I respect it, but it's nice to, you know, have like the J. Cole's and the Mac Millers and, you know, that kind of side of the girl rap as well, right?
Yeah, no, most definitely. Because I think at that time, 2019, 2020, it had like a lot of people like a Rico Nasty, a Megan Thee Stallion, a Doja Cat, you know, a Lizzo and all that. And that's when more like, you know, within like female rap acceptance got like kind of high from there and all that too. And then, you know, as we are getting into like 2023 right now, like to the end of 2023, like the whole sound is like very different and all that. Yeah, exactly. So do you feel like even like with that change too, do you feel like within those influences it kind of changes like how the perspective of like music is like made from there and all that?
For sure. I think that music goes in waves and there's different trends and there's different things that it's always something new. And that's the challenge and the beauty of music, because you always got to be on and you always got to be putting out something. And if you want to be successful, I think something different, because if you really look at the successful people, they're the things that started those trends. Like, for example, Drake with the rapping and the singing, and he's a big muse of mine, and I take a lot of my inspiration from how he kind of came up, but putting my own twist on it and the female perspective. Yeah.
Oh, most definitely, 100%. And with like the smell of smoke and all that too, like aside from, you know, the music process and everything else too, like what was like that whole like studio process, like even like recording all those tracks and all that?
Yeah. So I think like it takes a time to, you know, with this album, it's very personal, and like I take a lot of the emotion from things that happened over the last 2 years. So with that, from start to finish, it's about a 2-year project, right? So you go through the stuff, then you go into writing. So I wrote for a long time. And then finally, when you're done all your writing, go into production. And I recorded at a studio. It's the Cube Studio. Shout out Loop V. Me and him, he was my engineer on it. Just me and him grinding out long nights, you know, at the studio. And we got a lot done, and we accomplished a 9-track album that I'm very proud of. And yeah, it's something that I think sets me aside from most of the music that's coming out of Toronto.
Nah, 100% too. And I think like one of your like main influences right now and your favorite artist recently is Black, actually. And you know, I've tapped that in from like the other interviews. And, yeah, Black.
Oh my God,
yeah.
I love you so much.
Yeah.
I'm meeting him in November, and I'm so excited.
Oh, you copped the meet and greet for it?
I did.
Oh, true. So it'll be blessed either way, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I almost said Vlad for one bit too, but not Black, actually. But in that sense too.
Are you going to the show?
Maybe. Like,
you should.
I should too. I mean, I only liked one album. Like I do like the other album too, like East Atlanta, like Love Letter and all that too. But
you liked his original, like Problems, X Colin.
Yeah, I mean
that original.
The last
Black.
time I've like listened to Black, like I'm not gonna lie, it was like maybe like 2018 and all that. I do know that he has like other stuff like coming through with this new project. So
Since I Have a Lover is an amazing project, and I took a lot of influence from that for The Smell of Smoke. So, and I cannot wait to meet him. I love him so much, almost as much as Drake.
100%. How does he like relate to you like the most, like in terms of your music and like everything else too?
I think that he's an incredible lyricist, and anytime I hear any song from him, it's like I relate to it so much. I'm like, did he write this for me? So, and I think that's so important as an artist, as when you're writing and you're doing it, you have to tap in with people and people's emotions and make them relate to you. And I think that's what makes it so beautiful, and that's why I love music.
100% too. And you know, for top 5 Black songs, like what can you like recommend for people to check out, like in terms of his music?
Well, I mean, the whole old album, like with X Colin, Problems, all of that. But Since I Have a Lover, I love Playhouse, I think it's called. I love Oh, I'm the worst with like names of stuff, but his whole album is incredible.
True.
Playhouse I Love. I was just listening to it on the way here.
True.
Cold Feet. It's up on my
True.
phone right now. Talk. Temporary. Temporary is probably my favorite song off the album. Because I just relate to it, and I think that me and him have a similar path. I never had kids yet, but you know, I relate to him so much. So shout out Black, I love you.
Nah, most definitely. So definitely get Black's latest album and The Smell of Smokes too. So
Yes.
those are 2 dope albums you have to check out right there and all that.
Like, subscribe, comment, share, all that.
Exactly. With past songs such as like All I Need and like Lost Friends that speak more on your real life issues and issues that you see in life, do you feel that music is like a form of therapy, like the way like artists like vent their issues and thoughts and all that?
Definitely. I wouldn't be here if I didn't have music. Like, it really, you know, helped me. And like, I lost my dad to suicide, and mental health. Like, it's just a big thing. Like, not everyone could afford therapy. It's not cheap. So music is definitely a way of coping with, you know, real life things that you go through. And when people come to me after I release a song and they like literally like crying, tears in their eyes, saying like, oh my God, like this spoke to me so much, like that's when I know that I've done my job. So I definitely recommend it. And I recommend it for kids growing up too, because it can be an outlet for like everything.
No, 100% too. And I do definitely agree that, you know, being vulnerable like in your music is something that people should like do definitely tap into and all that. And I think one thing Toronto is lacking right now is like, you know, the vulnerability and like openness to like even like speaking like a lot of stuff too. I mean, there are like various songs that do kind of open up to like vulnerability and like openness too, but like everyone else is like this like hardened like shell to kind of be like the stereotype to kind of get people to be impressive. And do you ever feel like it is like lacking in Toronto right now for people to being like open, like vulnerable, like in their like music?
Well, rap is just so toxic. And I mean, there's so many different genres of rap as well. And like, I'm obviously not in gangster rap by any means. But yeah, like I think that there's such a stereotypical rapper and rap scene that that's what people automatically think. So I encourage these rappers that are, you know, on the come up, like to speak about real life shit and make it like cool, because like sitting here and like commending violence and like killing people, like we're killing all our talent off in Toronto, you know, R.I.P. Houdini, R.I.P. Bully, R.I.P. all these people. It's making us look dumb. Like we're taking away, you know, real talent. So it's just goofy shit when I see that those things getting promoted.
Yeah, no, most definitely. And to speak more, like, do you feel that with artists like that do speak about like the situations too, like, you know, their thoughts and issues on life, do you feel like it's authentic like within their own background too? Because like I know like in some situations they could talk about like dealing with all these issues and all this other type of stuff too, and then it could be like a facade like in real life in that sense.
Oh yeah, I know plenty of rappers that like grew up on a silver spoon, like, and they're rapping about coming up from the hood, and it's a joke, really. Like, I mean, I'm not saying, like, for me, I did grow up all right. I wasn't, you know, struggling. I grew up with a single mom, you know, but I chose to put myself in those positions, and I paid the price for that. But it's just funny, some of these people that are putting on such cap and, you know, getting recognition from it. But people see through the bullshit. And eventually it comes to light, so. No. But, like, everyone comes from somewhere. Everyone has their own story. I don't want to shit on that, like, you know.
100% too. And, you know, getting back more into your studio process and all that, like, what would, like, a day in the studio be like for you, like, or even during those times when you were doing, like, the recordings for, like, The Smell of Smoke? I
mean business. When I go to the studio, I don't bring an entourage. I don't drink. I don't, well, I sometimes smoke. But I go in by myself, prepared. I'm usually in the process of writing. I'm practicing as well, going like over the song like constantly, morning, afternoon, night. And then I go into the studio. I don't even need to read my phone. I can just go off my head and just bang it out, because, you know, time is money, and the more time you spend in the studio, the more money you're going to spend. So going into the studio prepared is like the number one, you know, advice I have for artists if they want to save some money.
Nah, 100% too. And I know like with some people too, like they'll try like other ways to kind of get the like vibe going. Like when I interviewed Beauty in the Riot, she always had like a candle like in the studio and all that
Oh,
to
that's cute.
kind of make it ambient and all that to kind of make it more refreshing. I don't know if you would like modify like the way the studio would be, or to like just like keep it as it is sometimes.
I love red lights. Red lights are my thing. Purple lights. Like the mood lighting is like key for me. I don't really like have a ritual or anything. Obviously food. Like if you can give me some Chinese while we're recording, I will be a happy girl. But yeah, mood lighting for sure.
Most definitely. And you know, with everything going on, how do you feel like how do you value the importance of like sexuality, vulnerability, and openness within your music? And is it like, I know we already explained it a little bit like more further with the other questions, but do you feel it's seen more today within mainstream music, or do you feel like it would be the opposite?
Yeah, I mean, there's always been, and for females in music, sexuality is everything. Like from when I was a kid to now, like look at Christina Aguilera, Britney Spears. They were all sexualized when I was a kid growing up. Do I think it affects people? Maybe, but I mean, it is what it is. That's just the way it is. And a lot of the people that control this shit are men, and that's what they want to see. So I think it's more difficult for people like myself and like the young MAs and, you know, the tomboys or whatever that aren't really like out there doing it. I'm a sexual person 100%. And I think it's important for a woman to be able to, you know, express that sexuality. But yeah, like, it is what it's just that thing. It is what it is. And if girls aren't comfortable, don't do it. Period.
Yeah.
But
No, 100%.
if you want to show your shit, show it.
No, I definitely agree too, and I think I've seen it like in some instances too. Like there would be like some people that would rap about like sexuality and everything else too, but then you know sometimes some fans perceive it as something different, and then when they do take it into action, when like the comfortability is a little bit low, like it'll be kind of awkward and all that. And like I think you've seen that with like the Sukiyana situation with YK Osiris, and like I think the Ari Lennox situation where I think this guy from South Africa like asked a question about sexuality in music and if she like kind of does that and all that in real life. So how do you even like feel about that?
It's always a thing, and it's always gonna be a thing. Like we're women and we deal with that. I mean, it's getting better. But I mean, I was guilty of it back in the day when I first got into the music scene. I thought that that's what you were supposed to do, and that's how you sell records. And I mean, I'm not going to lie to you, my views were a lot better when my shit was out. Oh. But, you know, I think that I'm being more true to myself as an artist and as a human being, because at the end of the day, that's what we are. So, you know, but if I wanted to shake my ass and my tits, like whatever, let's do it.
No, I definitely agree too. And like I feel like there is like a lot of influences too that people do take it on to like real life as well too. More so in the like men's situation too. And I mean there's like, you know, Andrew Tate, Fresh and Fit, like all that type of stuff too and all that.
Yeah.
You know, kind of influencing like these like young men and other people to kind of follow these like practices and all that.
Yeah.
And I don't know like how you like feel about that like nowadays too, and if it's like kind of causing like an issue between the relationship between like men and women.
Oh, absolutely. Like Andrew Tate, like, I mean, it's just crazy. I think the internet in general has just ruined society, and it's very depressing at times, but I mean, sometimes you just got to learn to shut off, and it's hard to do that as, you know, an entertainer, but I think taking time for yourself and like really shutting off and knowing that this is reality and then this is false reality is very important, because it took me a long time to realize that. And I think that kids nowadays just think it's about likes and views and blah, 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 but it's not. And a lot of industry people don't really even look at your views like that. They look at how much content you're putting out, you know?
Yeah, because I think like the whole like change in content has been like changed like drastically nowadays too. I could say like one example too, like No Jumper used to be like, you know, whole like underground podcasts too, with like interviewing rappers and everything else too, to having panels where they're having people like
Have sex.
Nick
Yeah,
Fuentes
yeah.
and like having like those girls
Or-
like talk about this stuff too, trying to copy like Fresh and Fit and all that, and
yeah.
it's kind of crazy.
But you know what? I think that they were pretty brilliant in doing podcasts, like a sex podcast. Like same with like Ryan Powell
Yeah,
from
yeah.
Toronto,
Yeah.
interviewing porn stars. Like that is a brilliant thing. Like to think of, like they did it, you know, first, and it's successful. And that's going back to what we were talking about before about music and starting trends. Like, and same with even TV shows, movies. You got to start these
Yeah.
trends and do it first, and then
Yeah.
watch it
Yeah. 'Cause
snowball.
It's like a whole like different algorithm and all that too and all
Yeah.
that. Like even with music, because I know with the old No Jumper fan base, they loved those like underground interviews with them interviewing like underground artists and them doing the whole like Nick Fuentes and like, you know, I think the Richard Spencer and like all this the type of stuff too.
Yeah.
It's like a total like 180 from there and all that. And I do
I
feel
do
like,
like
yeah,
no jumper.
yeah,
I did like you get that kind of vibe here too.
yeah.
But they had a lot of viral moments too that helped them.
Yeah, I
you
mean
know?
the Bunka situation too, and I think the Trippie Red situation. Like there were some good times on and all that too. I feel like there was like now with like Crib Mac and all that, and also
Scandals.
with the
Selena Powell.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of
I
crazy
love her
stuff.
though.
Yeah,
She's funny.
I feel like that's like for other like content too. And we'll get more into that well later on and all that. But to kind of end off like part one for a bit too, how did you manage to grow your fan base from the start of your career until now? And what were like some ways or practices that you initiated the growth and like maintaining like that live fan base?
I think just working constantly, never stopping, and like never taking breaks. Like I say yes, I try to say yes to everything that comes my way, and I put myself out there a lot. I mean, Six Buzz was a huge thing that kind of boosted me in the beginning. They posted me a couple times. I mean, they didn't tag me every time,
True.
but neither there or here, whatever. Just getting out there and advertising as well. I think that not a lot of artists think that far ahead. And when you make content, for example, music videos or songs and whatnot, you have to put that money into advertising. Like a lot of my money goes into that and getting on those algorithms, because you're not going to get on just like saying, hey, post. No. If you really want to get out there, you got to put money into it.
And also just like doing those shows too, because you know
Shows, yeah.
I remembered you were talking about like doing like some of these events, like hosting your events, like hosting your concerts too, and you know having like these people like on that build too and all that. And you know, like how did you even get into like hosting your own shows and all that?
I just like want to do it all sometimes. And I think that I'm such a control freak. Like going to shows and them being unorganized is like my biggest pet peeve ever. And it's so popular in Toronto. Just everyone thinking that they can throw a show. And it's like, no, you can't. There's been a select few of people that I've worked with that actually know how to run a show. And I was just fed up. And I think that I just wanted to prove a point that, you know, us as females can sit here. It was a full female bill. I put it all on myself with the help of Hip Hop Supermarket. And we sold it out. And I just wanted to kind of prove a point with that.
Yes. I think, you know, you might have been like that algorithm to have those more like female shows like going on and all that. Well, women rapper shows and all that. I'm not trying to say female rapper anymore and all that, but you've noticed recently too that another like platform like had another well-known artist like perform with a whole female lineup and all that too. And I don't know like if you might have like paved that way to get those like shows like going on from there.
I hope so.
Yeah.
But I mean, I wasn't the first to do it, and I don't want to take credit for that. Like, there's been other shows, but I encourage it. You know, women need to get more confidence in knowing that they can sell at these shows. You know, and it's annoying to see bills with just guys on it. Like it still happens. I saw one this morning. You know, and it's just like we bring out the girl them. You know, and it's like that makes a show.
Yeah.
But with the times now, it is difficult to put on shows, and because people are struggling to pay their rent. So
Nah, 100%.
Yeah.
And I feel like with women rap in like Toronto right now, it has improved for the better too.
For
And
sure.
I think it has to do with like the variety going on, because there's a multitude of like genres for all these like women rappers and all that, like in Toronto, that
Mhm.
kind of have like different sounds and all that, from like the Tia Banks to Paris Richards
Ew.
to Taylor to Nana Goody to the
Yeah.
New Cats and all that too, to Villa and everything else too.
Jelly
And
Two Fly.
yeah, exactly.
I
So
know we have so much. You could still go on to this
yeah,
there's lots. There's lots of girls and they are putting in work. And I see them working hard than males sometimes, But
nah,
there's a stigma.
nah, 100% too. And getting into part two right now, I think one thing that I kind of noticed that I actually really liked was the PFP and all that, like on your Insta and all that, and it was like a Barbie doll with like the joints and all that.
Yeah.
How did you manage to find that profile pic, and how did that like all started from there?
This is my favorite question. No one's ever asked me this question. And that, my friend, is like very important because it's definitely my alter ego. And I had that Barbie pic on for probably 6 or 7 years now. It's been on there since before this whole Barbie craze. But I've always, I'm blonde hair. I'm Barbie. I'm the Barbie of the rap game. I'm the Taylor Swift of the rap game. But at the same time with edge, with tattoos, with smoking a joint.
Yeah.
It's a artist called 360 Nash, I believe. He's a digital artist out of Chicago, I want to say.
True.
Let me just fact check that really quickly. I wanted to have that in lock for the thing. Barbie.
Yeah, no, because it was actually like more distinctive than every other like profile pic I would find and all that, because
Thank
a lot
you.
of them would be like, just like a random photo of them standing, of people standing, or, their album cover and all that too. With you, it's like, all right, that's RAXX, like that's someone that is someone to look out for, like musically and all that too and all that. So
Yeah, like I wanted it to be the brand, Sorry, I'm just trying to find
Nah.
the artist name. I
Nah,
want to
no
get
worries.
it right. I want it, yeah, and it has stuck out. Like people when they see it, they're like, "Oh, that's you!" Like
Yeah.
369.
Yeah, no worries.
I don't
Have you
know.
ever thought about creating merch with that thing too, or like even doing a collab?
I don't think I can. I don't own the rights to that
true.
photo, but I mean, I want to get a graphic done similar to that. I'm in the process of getting merch done. It's just finding the right supplier and everything. Like, I want it to be the right price point
And like like linking
and
with
quality.
the designer. Yeah, exactly.
I don't want some cheap shit that people are just going to be unhappy with. But merch is definitely in this next tier of stuff that I got to get done.
Nah, most definitely. And I mean, we talked earlier and all that too with past interviews I've done, and like I think one of the ones that I recently did was like the Villa interview with NLMG and all that, and like
Ew.
her like being a guest on here, and then I think you commented saying, like Honey Cocaine, check out Villa and all that too, and like I think also too with the Master Inferno stuff too. So like I know that you said that those are like some artists that you definitely like appreciate and all that, and maybe I don't know if you want to like explain more on that.
Well, Master Inferno is one of the best freestylers I've ever met, first of all. And the fact that he grinds so hard. Like, I'd be walking home from the bar and he'll be sitting there rapping. And I'm just like, bro, like he puts in the work and he doesn't get his flowers. And I want to give you your flowers right now because you're such an amazing artist, Master Inferno. And I'm very proud of you, and just keep working because his time is coming. As well as Villa, she's the cutest little thing I've ever met, and she's mad talented, and she's kind of doing what I'm doing. She's doing the tomboy kind of her own vibe, the Missy Elliott, the thing, and she's representing the Filipinos.
Yeah.
So it's dope to see. It's very dope to see, and I love seeing music that's not your typical music. Toronto has such a signature sound, and I mean everybody's doing it. Like, let's do something different.
Yeah, most definitely. Because there is like a whole like different scene out there that is different from the whole like mainstream stuff and all that. And like when we do talk about it, it's like there's like this one scene where it's the hoodman type stuff, people like just doing their thing and all that, the chains, the drugs, all that type of stuff, versus like the outside stuff where it's like
Yeah.
different like concepts and like different sounds, different styles and all that, different forms of appreciation. And I think with us, like, we're kind of like in the middle of that in that sense too, because you don't know if you want to like lean into the left side or lean
Right.
into the right side and all that too. So like, do you feel that there should be like more integration for other people to collab and all that?
Totally. Like if I had time, I would be collaborating with a lot more people, But it just sucks when like you get to a certain level, it's just like you're busy constantly, like just moving. But yeah, I would love to, collaborate with more people and do that. But I think people get nervous about, I think that just shooting your shot is the best. And that's why I'm so successful. Like I shoot my shot as much as I can. And if I hit, I hit. If I don't, I don't. On to the next one. So I encourage people to kind of shoot their shots.
Yeah, no, most definitely. And I think like it worked very well with like the City TV, the CB24, and then most recently Vibe, the Vibe 105 and all that too. So like, I mean, you just did Vibe today, but like with CB24 and like City TV, like how did it like work out for you, like in terms of like getting more recognition and people like finding out and all that?
Well, I think like people think it just falls in your lap. I mean, it doesn't. Like you do need publicists in this. You need to do things like that. I fortunately have been grinding really, really hard, and I'm not going to reveal my secrets, but I ended up shooting my shot and getting that shot.
Exactly.
So I really recommend people do that because you never know what you're going to get out of it. And I luckily created an album that a lot of people resonate to. And I'm lucky that these people want to give me that opportunity. So shout out all of you.
100% too. And, with your growth as like an artist, do you feel like you've grown as an artist from like the start of your career until now?
Oh, definitely. Like listening back to my last album, I'm just like, why did I release that? Like, and that's the beauty of music. Like I love looking back at my old catalog and seeing how much I've grown and seeing the progression and stuff like that. It really humbles you.
100%. And just like getting onto like these other topics right now, with 9 to 5s versus like attaining like success for your own, it's like a whole like different concept nowadays on what we could do right now. So in your opinion, do you feel that like seeking a 9 to 5 or attaining education for schooling is more of a better approach to attaining success, or would it be like the opposite?
You can do both. Like, and I think it's important. Like, success isn't going to happen overnight. Like it's just like winning the lottery, right? Like those success stories, but you don't see the behind the scenes as well. Like a lot of these people, for example, Ice Spice blew up overnight because of a song on TikTok, blah, blah, blah. But she was an artist for a long time before that, trying to, blow up. So there is, and same with Post Malone. Post Malone, like White Iverson or whatever, blew up. Was his big song, and before that he was rapping a lot, and there's a lot of behind the scenes things, but you always gonna have a backup, and art does not pay the bills, especially in the beginning. And it costs a lot of money to be an independent artist. So I mean, my 9 to 5 like really fuels my music career. So and I can't wait for the day that I can quit. But I love my job. Don't get me wrong.
I think it just like depends on like what you really love. So like if you have a job that you like, as you said, that you really love, and something that you really love on the side, like it also like works out either way too.
Totally.
I feel like in some cases too, like in Toronto, it's hard to kind of do both nowadays because you're gonna have to sacrifice like one or the other, like stay in Toronto and not focus on the music career or like the art career, or moving to a different area where it might be cheaper, but then you have like more time to work on your music and stuff like that. And sometimes there are like upsides and like downsides to it and all that.
Totally. But I mean, nowadays you can do music anywhere. Like anyone can, set up a microphone and do music and work with people in different towns and all of that and just travel. I mean, it's more inconvenient, yes, but it can be done. And if you really want it, you're going to do it. And that's exactly what I'm doing. So I really encourage people to work hard and not give up, because that's how you're going to be successful.
Yeah, no, 100% too. And I mean, we talked about this in like Trinklets and all that too, but what are your thoughts on like social media nowadays?
I mean, it's a great tool. It's a great tool for artists to use. You can upload a video for free, and you never know what's going to happen with it. There's a lot of downsides to social media. You always compare yourself to other people, and I think that as an artist, that's constantly what you're doing. So for me, I've recently just like trying to just focus on my lane and not really, I'm just congratulating everyone else on their journey, but you really got to focus on your lane. And social media, is the devil, but it is a great tool for us.
Nah, 100% too. And I know like in some cases too, for people outside of this like whole music realm too, like some people will post a photo like which concludes like a great reality, but it's not really like an actual reality nowadays too. And like you realize too, like there's a lot of people who are depressed, a lot of people who are making like lots of sacrifices to live that like image and all that, to kind of do things that they don't really accept, but like they have to do like one way or another and all that. And do you ever feel like that it could take a toll on other people, like depending on the situation going on? Or like, let's say if you have something like unique, but it's not what you're living, do you feel like it's like taking a toll on you?
Oh yeah, every day. But you just got to separate, and just every day. And I think that people, exactly, like they post the happy stuff, like, and that's why I try to be as vulnerable as I can in my music, because then people hear the story and then they're like, oh, okay, I get it now.
Oh, true.
So yeah, I really love people that are, that, I mean, everyone's fake online, let's be real. Let's be real. But it is a great social tool.
No.
But it's ruining us all.
Nah, 100% too. And do you have any regrets in your life, or do you regret nothing?
I regret nothing. I mean, there's a couple things I wish I could take back.
Yeah.
But I mean, they made me who I am today, and you learn from your mistakes. And I'm a very strong believer in that, because I don't make the same mistake twice unless it's my ex-boyfriend. No, I'm just joking.
Nah, I got you.
But I try not to make the same mistakes twice. I try to learn and grow from them. And everything happens for a reason. I'm a very, very strong believer in that. And yeah, if you're good karma.
Nah, 100% too. And I know there's like a couple things that might be interesting too. Barbie or Oppenheimer? You're gonna watch like one or the other?
I watched both.
Ah, true.
I did. Oppenheimer is long as shit. It's 3 hours long, so be prepared if you're going to see that.
True.
And Barbie was a great movie. It really is an empowering woman movie, and and it's a female director, biggest female opening weekend ever.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was a great movie.
Yeah. And I guess you're also gonna tune into Caravana as well too.
I hope.
Like,
if there's any single boys out there, come catch this bubble.
True. Nah, for sure. And do you have any like closing remarks you'd like to say?
Just make sure that you go stream The Smell of Smoke. It's out on all platforms now. And follow me on Instagram. It's RAXX Official Music, RAXX Official Music. And be kind to one another.
Most definitely. RAXX, I gotta dap you up right there and all that. I'm just trying to make that a whole trend and all that. But yeah, thank you for coming by, to speaking your piece, to speaking your story, and sharing your gems too and all that, because it is important to share people like their flowers and all that, and to get people to be a part of the journey and all that, to share their stories, to kind of get them going. You being like the second solo woman guest on here, it's a milestone and all that too. And
let's go.
I gotta get the trend going. Exactly, and this is Josh, also known as Yashu. I always say this like every other time. Check it out on all platforms: Buzzsprout, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, much more and all that. If you're on Apple Podcasts, like give it a review, depending, 5 stars, or depending on whatever star you can and all that. And definitely
5 stars. What the fuck?
Definitely check out The Smell of Smoke. Pretty dope project right here, and the Black Project too and all that. We'll probably put them on the playlists and all that type of stuff too. And
let's go.
This is Josh, also known as Yashu, episode 46, TLOY Talk, signing off.
That's a cut.